Alright, back with another Destiny 2 video. Yesterday I wrote about crafting, and that seemed to get a pretty good response from people, with people saying they were agreeing with what I was saying, so I thought I would do something that goes a little more in depth of my critiques of crafting. First of all, don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of aspects of crafting. I think it is fundamentally enjoyable to kind of invest in a single weapon so you can get the exact roll you want once you get to about, I don't know, I think level 20, you're kind of maxed on everything. Level 20 will give you a frame stat boost, and then you can get enhanced perks of all this stuff once you get the materials for that, which I do not have, as you can see. But I like that idea. I think it's cool that it shows you when this was created. It's like, I joked it was like an NFT, but it does give it some like identity as to like, this is my weapon, this is how long I've had it, this is how much work I put into it. And then there's little fun things like mementos that are, I think once there's more than just a Gambit memento, it'll be better, but this is like, it gives it a rare shader, it gives your weapon a title, which I find kind of funny. I think it's like Primeval Destroyer or something. Primeval Usurper, I think, is the title, the weapon title, which is interesting. So like there are a lot of aspects to it that I think are good. I think it does get you around RNG to a certain extent, although by the time you are able to craft a lot of these weapons, you may already have the god rolls you want, minus enhanced perks. So there are a number of issues with crafting in its current form, which is not a huge surprise given that it is a brand new system from Bungie that, you know, this is 1.0 crafting. So obviously they're going to have to make some changes and adjustments to things in order to expand it. First and foremost, I think it's sad that there's a lot of weapons that have arrived that are very cool that we cannot craft. Everyone wants to craft all of these viced weapons to get their own personal role. I like Killing Wind's Frenzy, Subsistence Frenzy I'm looking for on this. This is Recluse. It's literally Recluse. But you can't craft it, so that is a bummer. This is the sidearm, which is actually, this is a really good roll of this sidearm, actually. I think I'm going to keep this indefinitely once I extract the resonance. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's missing from crafting. I assume this is because they didn't maybe have time to test all the enhanced perks. I think that would be the only real barrier there, or maybe they just thought it would be overwhelming if you could craft like literally everything they added this expansion. So I think they will just kind of roll out more and more of these over time. Maybe not even, this could be something theoretically they drop mid-season. But so the idea is that you would be able to save vault space now because you can just have one crafted version of a weapon and then unlock whatever perks you want for it. This is obviously not what I want on this right now. I'm still working on these levels. And then you would not need to save like 5-6 copies of a weapon because you would be able to switch kind of freely between them. Already running into some problems with this. First and foremost, like eventually, so I have hit the currency caps on all of the element-based, things. So the adroit elements, ruinous elements, all of that stuff. So what I'm doing now is I am starting to just bank, completed frames. Like not many, but I have some in here that if I him hitting the cap, I'm gonna start just putting these in here, and then other places I have I have like red frames that I'm saving that I just haven't gotten around to tuning yet, and like this is like 2 days worth of stuff. So like I'm not this is only going to grow, and I easily can see a situation where we just have a ton of finished and unfinished deep sight weapons crammed in our vault because it's a way to get around the currency caps. I need more neutral element because I don't know what the cap is on that, but it seems to be pretty high. But that costs 2,000 per enhanced perk. But if I don't immediately need that, so I don't have the alloys right now, I'm baking these weapons. And once I do start doing those enhanced perks, I will need all those, other elements that I'm currently capped on. So it seems like the right decision to just save stuff in here for when I need it. Rather than extract stuff and be missing out on materials because of the caps. So that's not a great system. I don't love that. And there are just kind of... So one core thing about the idea of space saving as well is that the problem is once you what can I reshape here? So it feels like to me that once you have unlocked a perk, like once you have spent the neutral element to unlock it, you should be able to change back to that perk for free. Because every time you want to change perks now, it's going to cost you, 3 to 600 and 900, ruinous element to change them. Changing enhanced perks seems fucking insane. Oh, whoops, I'm not supposed to swear. Seems insane because that is just so many materials. It's 2,000 neutral elements. So like you really have to be committed to a enhanced perk there because you're never going to want to switch back, with these materials. I mean, maybe we'll be just drowning in so much materials at some point it won't be as big of a deal, but like this doesn't feel as flexible maybe as it was presented because you have to kind of re-spend the money every single time you do this. So I don't like that aspect of it. I understand why they wouldn't want necessarily like, 5 perks under here. You know what I mean? Like for everything you can unlock, like that would be too cluttered, too chaotic. But I do sort of miss at least picking between 2 alternate perks or 2 column 1 perks, something like that. That seems like that's something that's missing from crafting that I would like to see. And then what I'll slip in the minor thing here where it bothers me that these are never going to get gold borders. I figured that when you hit level 20 and you got the frame boost that gives you a bump in stats that you would get the gold border because that would essentially be the equivalent of masterworking. But there is no equivalent of masterworking. This is just never going to not look like this. This seems like a relatively minor thing they should add. But like, if you're using this in conjunction with your masterworked armor and other masterworked weapons, it stands out and looks weird, and I just really want that gold border. So I really wish that was the case. Another thing about this, so one of the core things I think with crafting that's a bit weird is that you have to use the specific crafted weapon in order to level it up. So like, let's pretend this was my ideal, peace of mind pulse rifle where I really wanted these 2 perks, which I don't, but I could not use this pulse rifle to do anything. Like this would make, I could get 1,000 kills with this and this would make no progress to my peace of mind frame. I would need to use the crafted version of peace of mind only. And then I would have to level it and level it and level it and then unlock perpetual motion and harmony manually. And then I could use the role I want. So I'm finding the situation where I keep running into roles that I think are really good, but if I use that instead of the crafted version of something, I am making essentially no progress at all. And you can just say, oh, well, if you got the good role you want, then you can just stick with that one and just masterwork it, and you don't have to do anything with crafting. Yeah, except you can't get enhanced perks on these. It's not like I can take this and then enhance the perks on these. I have to build the other one from scratch. So to me, this creates a weird situation where you have the RNG system that still exists, and then you have the new crafting system where these two don't really work together. Like the only way RNG and crafting kind of intersect is when you have the RNG drops you need to get pattern drops, which is something I'm about to talk about. But that is really the only RNG thing. So like if this dropped and had a pattern to it, that would be useful in getting me to unlock the crafting version of this. But again, like using this actual weapon is doing nothing toward helping me unlock a crafting pattern. I think this whole thing with the RNG and crafting pattern drops and things, I feel like that could maybe be solved where if you use this, used a version of this weapon enough, then you would unlock the crafting frame for it. Like if you got, X amount of kills or something with that weapon, that's how you would get the pattern, as opposed to, so now the current system that we all know about is, where is the list of things, patterns and catalysts. So this is the current system where you need to get red bar or red border drops of all of these weapons to unlock them and be able to craft them. This is problematic because many of these, so some of these you were just given in quests. Like if you, I think you just got a pattern version of this from a quest, or at least some of these. The rocket launcher you got a pattern version of, and you just had to extract it once and then you were pretty much done. The problem becomes when you get these ones that need 2 and 5 and like all of these things where you're relying on RNG where getting the weapon in the first place is pretty difficult, and then getting a deep sight version of that weapon is even more difficult. I will say, so let me go to the helm really quick. I will say that like some of this is a time thing where like over the course of a full season, I can see how this makes sense. And if you're just kind of playing normally, you will probably end up getting most of these weapons just through kind of normal gameplay. But the problem becomes when you are trying to grind out these patterns now, especially in regard to it's a literal quest step to craft 2 of these weapons to make progress in the mystery board thing and to get the glaive. And so that is driving people crazy where people are farming, hours and hours and hours and hours of Wellspring, where it's like a 1 in 4 chance maybe of getting a weapon, and then a 1 in 6, 7, 8 chance of getting a pattern weapon. So like the drop rates overall for that are abysmal, so abysmal that Bungie is actually actively looking into it. But to me, like I think that's more of a problem with the quest step, like that being a quest step rather than the long-term grind. I do think this will not really be an issue as much when time goes on and the season continues. For example, with the seasonal weapons. Oh, what do I got? Let me guess. Not a red bar. Pulse monitor, tap the trigger. No, thank you. So, at least in this case, what's going to happen with these upgrades is that, okay, so I unlocked armor decoding. By the way, this is high stat armor, just as an aside here. These roll really well. These have very good stats on them, and remember, you can use your ghost to focus. So if you're looking for high stat armor, this is pretty good, and you can unlock it like week 1 here. It requires 4 risen energy per thing, but yeah, it's good, trust me. Okay, so then I'll upgrade to weapons. I can do manual weapons decoding. Then it's going to be seasonal weapons that get an additional perk. Then it's going to be the first time you decrypt an umbral engram into a seasonal weapon each week, it will have deep sight resonance. So then we're getting to an area where that's guaranteed deep sight resonance, at least on 1 weapon a week. Granted, many of these weapons need 5 unlocks, but this will be at least a way to get a guaranteed one. And then, you're just going to get more armor and weapon drops, period. The first Legend Battleground you complete each week will drop an additional weapon and armor item. And then this one is mostly about getting energy and more stuff to be able to craft things. So all of this will combine to a system that I think, will end up being pretty decent for getting patterns for those eventually. Like you get enough drops where I'm not really worried as much about finishing that out as I am maybe some of the Throne Road ones, the Wellspring ones. A big question mark is what's going to happen with the raid weapons. So all of these I believe these are all the raid weapons, and these require 5 patterns each. And I can foresee a situation where this may be exhausting to try and find the last 1 or 2 patterns for specific raid weapons. I can see us running into a similar situation there. I don't know if there will end up being any kind of bonuses for getting red border things and patterns like that in the raid, or if it's going to be just purely RNG. But I would imagine that might be similar to the Wellspring situation we have, where everyone is kind of freaking out about it and trying to get those last ones that just won't drop. I think maybe there should be a system that there's like some sort of bad luck protection on deep sight, but I can see the swinging the other way too, where, like I said with the vaults, like we are going to run into a situation where you're going to start having to just jam your vault full of deep sight weapons that you don't want to extract, but you don't want to lose the materials, and that is not whatever we're gaining in vault space from the idea of crafting weapons, we are going to lose probably even more so in trying to stock up on materials because of these current element caps. I think that is definitely going to be a problem. But past that, I do think this system is designed for kind of longer term play in terms of like you're just not going to get every pattern immediately. And I get that farming Wellspring and stuff is frustrating, but I think you have to keep in mind that one important element of this is like once you unlock a pattern for something, it's permanent. So you only have to it is annoying to get 2 copies of the auto rifle with these bad drop rates. Like once you have that done, you're done. Like that is all you have to do. and then essentially once you level your auto rifle to 20, which does not honestly take that long if you're using it a lot. I mean, I already have at least, I have two weapons that are like level 30. I've got my machine gun almost level 20. I have a lot of weapons over level 10. Like, and this is only, we're not even done with week 1 yet. So I think this is going to be quicker than it looks right now. And we are going to get in a situation where we will have, maybe too many deep sight weapons to keep track of. Granted, like, this will change because they're going to keep adding things, and yet, for the time being, I mainly just think it's a problem with this quest step that everyone cannot complete because it requires those two specific weapons. I don't know if there's a quest step after that where you have to craft the other two, which I think you might, and I think those might require 3 patterns each. Let me check the sniper. I know the bow does. Okay, so I'm guessing the next step of that is you have to craft Father's Sins and Fel Teradiddle. What a weird name. Which require 3 each, and those are both Wellspring weapons. I think the bow is going to be up today. I'm pretty sure it's the bow or the sniper. So that's even worse because you need an extra one now. And again, all of this plays into the glaive quest. But like in the long arc of the game, I don't think the grind is like really the problem, and certainly not the weapon kill grind itself. Like, I love my glaive. I've been using it a lot. I'm level 35 with my glaive, after not even a week. So any weapon that you really love and that you like using a lot is going to be very easy to max out at essentially level 20. I think level 30 is what you need to apply the special shader from the memento, but that's it. So this is what Bungie was talking about when they were talking about how they wanted this to be a grind, but not like a crazy grind. I think the only really crazy grind aspect thing that's coming up here is just the RNG for patterns. And if that is adjusted slightly, I think that's a major problem with crafting solved. I think adding new patterns is going to be a major problem solved. Allowing us to craft some of these other new weapons that we would really like to craft. They're just not ready yet. And then I maintain that the currency caps are not good. I get this is like a technical issue that is hard to solve, and yet that it's very strange that those cap at 250. I think alloys cap at 10, like Ascendant shards. So we're going to once again be in a situation where you have 10 alloy and then 10 in your postmaster, and then those can get deleted by accident, and like that's not a good system. Like, I am genuinely concerned about how that is going to play out in the longer term here. Have you guys seen the fun shooting range here? The darkness shooting range. This isn't exactly what I was talking about when I said we needed the return of the shooting range from Menagerie, but I mean, it's something, I guess. So I think that we need the permanent unlock system, as in you can switch back and forth between old perks you have unlocked once you spend those materials. I do not think it makes any amount of sense to force people to respend materials when they want to experiment with builds. That does not make any sense to me, because then you're just going, the alternative to that is you have to shape, again, just multiple copies of a weapon and then level them up to level 20 just to have 2 separate versions of a weapon. And even then that won't really like, that doesn't solve the problem, because like you still have to spend the materials on the perks once you get there. It's just that now you can switch in fact back and forth between those 2 weapons as opposed to just having it be on one weapon. Like, it's messy, and it would be a lot less messy if they just let us spend the currency once and then permanently unlock everything. Because like spending, again, I think we will have a lot more neutral element than we think in the future, and I bet there will be more sources of that maybe than just deep sight in the future as well. But the current system where swapping, especially enhanced perks, like that is an absurd amount of money to try to experiment with builds on a specific weapon, and I do not think that is good. So we'll see. I don't think crafting is in quite as bad of a state as everyone thinks. I think the majority of the problems are centered around these Wellspring drop rates and the fact that it's tied to a quest, and that's the only source of those weapons. I think once that is resolved and once people get these patterns once, we're going to see people come down about that. But then the raid is kind of a big question mark in terms of how that's going to work, and if the RNG for that will be too annoying. Because I know people are going to be farming encounter after encounter after encounter to try and get red bar patterns, and we're probably going to run into another Wellspring issue where everyone's complaining about the lack of deep sight. But again, it is supposed to be a long-term grind. I don't know if the pattern part of it is executed well. I think the actual leveling and stuff is fine. I think that is a good aspect of this that works. And I do enjoy investing in these weapons, but definitely need some work. Obviously, this is a 1.0 version, so we were going to have to come up with kind of fixes and things. It's just kind of a matter of when they might be implemented. We know Bungie is already at least aware of the Wellspring stuff, so we'll see how that pans out. If anything changes kind of in the immediate future here, maybe a reset or maybe Thursday for the 12 when they usually do hotfixes and things. So I don't know. But anyway, those are more additional crafting thoughts. And if you have anything to add, please let me know in the comments. But all right, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.